first thing we'll do are a couple housekeeping items. One is call the roll. So call the roll, please.
Mr. Zollinger,
Here.
Ms. Boyajian, Mr. Strab,
Here.
Ms. Clevenger,
Here.
Mr. Lamuel,
Here.
Okay, that means 4 out of the 5 members are present, so we have a quorum. Just so everybody's aware, for any action we take this evening, 3 out of the 4 will need to vote yes in favor of taking any action. Regardless of how many people are present, a majority of the board, that's 3 at least, needs to vote yes on any motion to take for something to pass. 2 to 2 means failure of any motion. The next item is minutes for consideration. Our last meeting was September 26, 2023. It's been a little while, but we did have the minutes provided to us in advance of the meeting. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes of September 26, 2023.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can you call the roll, please, for a vote?
Mr. Strab,
Approved.
Mr. Zollinger,
Yes.
Mr. Lamuel,
Yes.
Ms. Clevenger,
Yes.
You know, the minutes are approved. Let's make sure I tend to make sure I sign those before I leave. I tend to forget that. Sometimes I'm in a hurry to get out of here. Next items are we have 2 variance requests this evening that are on the agenda. The first one, 4A, could you please read that one out for the record?
application ZBOA-24-2, Donald Seward, 1610 Arnsby Circle Northwest, North Canton, Ohio, 44720. A variance requesting a 1-foot variance to allow a 7-foot-high privacy fence along the rear yard portion of the southern property line for approximately 60 linear feet.
Okay, thank you. I say this at the beginning of every meeting when we get to this point. We have a court reporter that is taking down everything everybody is saying tonight. So if you're going to be speaking, make sure that your responses to any questions are audible. Yes, no, I don't know. Make sure they're words. Avoid shaking the head or nodding or saying things like that. It makes her job a lot tougher when you do that. Make sure you speak clearly. Make sure you provide your full name and address when you begin talking. The other thing is anyone who's going to speak tonight is going to be put under oath. So at this point, if you can, please stand and face the court reporter and raise your right hand. If you cannot stand, just raise your right hand, please. If there's any chance you're going to speak, you can change your mind later. You're not obligated to speak.
Do each of you swear that the testimony that you're about to give in this cause will be true?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, you can be seated. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll first hear from the person applying for this variance, and then anybody else who wants to speak in favor of the variance, and then we'll hear from people who might have a different opinion about it. So Mr. Seward is the applicant. If you're here, Mr. Seward, you can please go ahead and approach the podium if you'd like and speak there, or whoever, Ms. Seward, I'm sorry.
Right.
Go ahead and just state your full names and address for the record, please.
Kira Redinger, 1610 Arnsby Circle Northwest.
Donald Seward.
Okay, and go ahead.
Yeah, so we're just here today, as the thing that she read said, we would just like to do a variance for a fence in our back side yard, increasing from 6 feet to 7 feet tall.
Okay, so just if the city can let me know to confirm a few things. This is zoned would be 1133.08.
Correct. We're zoned R70.
Okay, you're zoned R70.
Yes.
Now that ordinance says 6 feet, and I understand why you want it because of the development on the other side.
Correct.
The scenery over there is way different now than it was for a long time.
Yes, it is.
What's my question, and by the way, I ask lots of questions, and I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I'm just trying to find out information.
Yeah.
I'm an attorney, so it's kind of how I do things. But what's an extra foot going to give you?
When we're just sitting down on our patio, that extra foot like blocks the signage and some light when we're down. So
Okay.
that's, and just to mitigate some of the noise and the lights that would come down that road, because we can see Stravaton from there. So right now, there's not a ton of traffic, but we have seen a lot of increased traffic coming down there now, so the light is coming down that way, so that would help increase blocking it.
Okay, and so this would be in the backyard
Yes,
for you, and then on the other side is just open land right now? Is it the
right
part?
behind us, it's open land, yes.
It's
To
the
the
part
right of
that-
us, we have a neighbor.
It's the part that the city was going to make a park at one point, I
Yeah, they
believe.
currently own the property.
Okay. So it's not residential, we're not talking about a residence on the other side of your property?
No, to the right of us where the fence is our neighbor, but they're very aware of the fence. They have no problem with it. They don't have a problem with the 7 foot as well. They're good with it, but yeah, there's no one directly behind us.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I don't know if anybody in the city can answer this. Is there what's the possibility of the property on the other side of the fence, where this fence would go, being developed? It doesn't sound like it's very high.
That is the property that was identified as a potential parkland, but there's no current development for it right now.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. I don't think there's anything else at this point.
Okay.
Does anybody else wish to get up and speak on this issue in favor of it or against it? Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think you can be seated. Good. I don't have a problem with this variance request in light of what's happened on the other side of their property. I think the explanation for an extra foot makes sense. I think there's also some leeway here because there's not a residence on the other side of where the fence is gonna go, so I'm okay with this variance. I don't know if anybody else had any other thoughts or.
Well, my thoughts were a foot wasn't gonna be a glaring change either. People wouldn't say, oh, why did they add a foot? I don't think they're gonna notice that, and if it helps with the light and the noise, seems adequate.
Okay. It seems like a pretty unique situation. So I'll make a motion to approve this variance. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll go ahead and call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Lemuel?
Yes.
Mr. Streb?
Yes.
Mr. Zollinger?
Yes.
Ms. Clevenger?
Yes,
Okay, yes, well, then that variance is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and call the next item.
Application ZBOA-24-3. Randy Frank, 1867 Cheswold Circle Northeast, North Canton, Ohio, 44720. A variance request to reduce the required 40-foot rear yard setback to allow for a garage addition. This request will reduce the rear yard setback to 29 feet, 6.5 inches at the closest point. The property owner is requesting the rear setback variance so the garage addition is centered across the face of the side of the existing swimming pool.
Thank you. Did everybody who's going to speak on this issue potentially get up and get put under oath, just to make sure? Okay. Same rules apply here. The other thing I'd mention is when we're engaging in questioning, I'll try not to talk over you. Again, makes the court reporter's job easier if we're not talking over one another. Everyone will have every chance they want to speak. So at this point, I'll let the applicant get up and speak on behalf of this application. And you, sir, just make sure you state your name and address for the record.
Okay. Randy Frank, 1867 Cheswold here, North Canton, Ohio. And requesting a variance to add a garage addition so that it extends to the edge of the cement on the pole, so it's centered, so it's got appealing to the eye. And asking for approximately 11-foot variance. So I know it's 40 foot off of the back line, so Just basically asking so that from an architectural standpoint, that it would be centered across the edge of the pool.
Okay, just for the record, I believe the ordinance that this applies to, because we had the wrong, I think it was 1133.08 G was cited in the application we got, but it's actually 1133.05 G that applies here, from what I can tell. I don't know if anybody has any different interpretation of that. I just want to make sure we're looking at the right ordinance. And because you're zoned R70, sir, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And so that would be a 40-foot, and you want to go down to 29,
6.5.
6.5. Anybody have any questions right now? The new garage, I was trying to figure out how this is going to work on the construction. The existing garage, is it going to become part of the house now, or?
Becomes part of the existing garage. It's going to attach to the existing structure. There's going to be a 4-foot offset. You guys have the drawing in front of you?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
The reason for the 4-foot offset is that I don't have to take any of the cement out of the pool. And it gives me the ability to put a man door to access the house other than the front door.
Okay. The property on the other side, or on the other side of your rear property line, is that Plain Township?
Yes.
And did you look at other ways of doing this so that it would not, there would be compliance, or would be less of an?
You got the drawing in front of you, right?
Yeah,
If you take that 10'6" and take it away from the building, it puts it like, stops in the middle of the pool. It would just look, out of sorts.
what would stop in the middle of the pool?
The end of the building, if it was shorter.
Okay. Yeah, I drove by your property, because I tend to do that before these hearings. I was trying to figure out the layout.
It's pretty well called out on the drawing here.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I understand it right away. It's the first time I've ever been back. I'm understanding it now, but yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to.
Basically, if you look straight up the driveway, we're extending the garage directly back.
Yeah, okay. I see that, I see what you're saying now, okay. All right, anybody else? All right, thank you, sir.
Well,
Does anybody else wish to get up and speak at this time in favor of the application? Okay, ma'am, thanks. Just make sure you state your name and address.
My name's Diana Ridge. I live at 1875 Cheswick Circle, Northeast. I'm the neighbors, and if it's going to affect anyone, it would affect me. But I know them so well that I know that their property always looks immaculate. They do a wonderful job, and the way it'll turn out will be, it will look nice. Yes, it does stop from looking through to the wooded area, but it still will entice people to come in and see what they have and what they've done with it. I think it'll look nice from what the plans look like. We don't have a problem with it, it's their home. And they have to be able to live in their home the way they wish they want to live in it. As long as it's kept up like they always do, I don't see where there should be a problem.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Where do you live in relation to?
If you're facing his home, I live on the right-hand side where the garage will extend.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else in favor? Okay, at this point, I'll turn it over to anyone who has a different opinion, if you'd like to get up and speak.
Hi, my name is Ben Stout. I live at 1776 Amarillo Street Northwest, on the backside of the property in question. I just have a couple concerns. What Randy and Cindy want to do, that's up to them. I just don't know if the drawings that are submitted are accurate at this point. Again, I don't have like an actual surveying of the land or anything, but just going by the auditor's website and using their measuring tool, it shows that they only have a 71-foot current setback. And if the addition is 52 feet, that puts it within 19 feet. And so I just want to make sure that the variance is accurate. My other concern is, to my knowledge, and maybe you guys can answer this question for me, that there is a gas line that also runs along that back property line. And is there any easement or anything like that that needs to be considered?
Okay, well, with respect to whether this drawing here that we're looking at is accurate, sir, that's a site plan, correct, Mr. Frank?
That is completely based off the architectural drawing, that was off the surveying drawing of when the house was originally built.
Okay, and maybe somebody from the city can answer this from a permitting standpoint. When the permits are granted, it's all based on this being accurate, these drawings and dimensions and everything?
Yes.
Okay, so if this was inaccurate, what happens if it turns out that this building is 19 feet from the property line, and ends up being built wrong? What happens?
Marty's online. See if he wants to address that, because every city's different. I'm filling in for him, but he did try to join online. Is he
He should
available,
be
Julie?
on. Yeah, he should be on. He can hear us.
I can hear you. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yeah, did you hear my question about that?
I did, yes. Very good question. So in regards to the easement, the code does require the owner to identify that on the plans. And since we're aware of that, we will ask for that on the submittal. Again, the code does require they identify that. Now, in regards to the specific setback dimensions, if what they have on the plans does not match what they have out for the footing inspection, the project will have a hold on it. Essentially, we'll have to get that identified before they pour any concrete at all. And if it is less, as what the neighbor has questioned here, then they would have to come back to the ZBOA and ask for another amended variance, really, on that. So the owner does not have any interest in falsifying the documents, whether it's by accident or otherwise. It will get caught through the inspection process if the property line is not where the paperwork says it is.
Yeah, so like if we grant a variance, our variance is going to be, the setback's gonna go to 29 feet 6.5 inches. So if he builds it at 19 or it ends up at 19, he's gonna have to come back here and get another approval from us.
Okay. I just didn't know.
Right.
So there's oversight, there's city oversight from the city on that. So this is accurate. If it ends up not being accurate, then there's going to have to be more. Something's going to have to be done.
Understood.
Yeah, Chairman, if I may, one more thing I'd like to add to it. Also, hearing the question, I mean, we don't want the property owner to head in the wrong direction. So, hearing this, we will work with the property owner to help ensure that it is accurate in there. Again, the owner has been forthright with everything up to this point. So, I know they're wanting to do the right thing. We'll work with them to make sure that, what they have is correct.
Do you have anything else?
Just a question about the gas line.
Oh, the gas line, Marty. Do we know anything about the gas line or an easement there?
I'm not aware of a gas line easement. The homeowner would know. That would have been on their deed paperwork when they purchased it, and or if it came in after they purchased it, it would have been something that they signed off on the property deed. So if there is one there, we will need, and that may be a condition of the approval tonight, is okay, if the Zoning Board of Appeals is inclined to grant this variance, that I would request they do it with, and we do discover there's a gas line, that they identify that on the plan prior to issuing the permit.
Okay, all right. So, and just, sir, Mr. Frank, do you happen to know anything about the gas line easement?
When I purchased the home, I don't believe I had any, I don't remember anybody in my deed of anything about it.
Okay.
I know there was possibly that they wanted, if they had to, they could put a power line through there.
Mhm.
Never heard anything about a gas line.
Okay,
I mean, Ben, you would know better than I do.
I just remember when I was younger that there used to be gas line markers across the back when it was still a field. And I don't know what's happened to it, but I just want to make sure that it's not back.
yeah, well,
there so no one hits
I
it.
guess I would, yeah, I mean, I would suggest that it be looked into. The gas line easements, in my experience, are 15 feet on each side, but that could be different
Yeah.
here. I mean, that would just need to be looked into, so it's a valid question. Okay. Anything else? Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
I have more of a question, but I'll stand at the podium. Wendy Rockenfelder, I live at 1772 Amarillo, and I don't know if I should have received notice or not. I live at the point,
Okay.
to the
On
left point,
Upper left?
yeah,
Okay. of the
next
picture.
to the gentleman that just spoke.
Okay.
So I don't know if I should have received notice.
You gotta be within 200 feet.
Right?
Chairman, I can address that too if
Okay,
you
go
wish.
ahead.
Yeah, so the packet is sent out to the law director for review, and as part of the packet, we do have a map of the county's GIS that identifies properties within a 200-foot radius. The property in question was found to be located outside the 200-foot, and as such, we did not send notice.
Even though I touched, I'm within two. Is it within 200 feet of the building or within 200 feet of the property line?
So there's a pinpoint the auditor's GIS puts on there, and I do believe it was within 200 feet. The pinpoint, rather, is at the building, and it would go 200 feet from there.
I guess then my question is, who determines if the property line is correct? Do they have to get a survey? Who determines where the setback goes from?
Marty, you know the answer to that question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so typically, if there's not a corner marker on the property, then the inspector at that point would ask for a survey to place those markers there. So the documents we're using, particularly as it relates to the notices sent, we're using the auditor's GIS. And in my conversations with the auditor, the property lines that are shown on the auditor's website for the city of North Canton are very accurate because of the records that the city of North Canton has kept. They're able to keep accurate records. So the property lines shown on the auditor's website are reliable. We use those. And as it relates to the property lines on the site, there should be property corners. This is a fairly new development, so those property corners should be there. And again, if they're not, the property owner would have to hire a surveyor to reset those corners so the inspector can pull a string line and measure the dimensions.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Bill Ridge, I live next door. And there is property line in the back. There's steel stakes at the end of our property, and on the other side, there's a steel stake there.
Okay.
So I know exactly where it is. And the gas line went along where the border is.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you. Could you say your last name one more
Bill
time?
Ridge,
Ridge?
Ridge.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, anybody else have any questions up here at the board? Okay, if not, I mean, I think this variance request makes sense based on what I've heard here, subject to the gas line easement being looked into. I'd make a motion to approve this variance on condition that the any potential issue with a gas line easement just be resolved between the landowner and the city. Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, we'll call the roll.
Ms. Clevenger,
Yes.
Mr. Strab?
Yes.
Mr. Zollinger?
Yes.
Mr. Lamuel?
Yes.
Okay, that variance is granted. Thank you. I believe, let's see, in the agenda, there's nothing else on our agenda. If there is nothing else to come before the meeting, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
And we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay.